Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look at Rattenkrieg. This is a game designed by Untitled and published in Yaah magazine, issue number 14. I recently did a preview video of the magazine and the game, and today I want to do a brief review of the game itself and let you know what I think of it. This is a solitaire tactical level game set in Stalingrad, and you see the map out there. All those buildings definitely are reminiscent of Stalingrad, including all the sewer markers that you'll see out there. And we'll get to that in another minute or two, but I wanted to talk about the map real quick. If you recall from the preview video, we had two map sheets. So that would kind of lead you to believe these are two maps. Well, not really, because you cut them in half and you've got four isomorphic maps. This is really cool because each scenario does not call for a specific map. You can take any of the two maps and lay it out depending on how the scenario wants you to lay it out, either top down or side by side. I think that's really cool because you are changing up the tactical picture each time you play the scenario, and that makes it a lot more fun, a lot more challenging, and increases the replayability. On top of that, with just four sheets, you have all that variability in the map setup. You easily can create a much bigger feeling environment with just the four strips of maps. And that's pretty cool because Stalingrad was not a small place, and I think it's neat that with just four little isomorphic maps, you can create this unending variety where it does make you feel like it's shifting each time you play a different scenario. And each time you play the same scenario even. So kudos to Guitardos and Connie setting that up the way he did. I think that's pretty smart. And how the game works is pretty straightforward. You've got all these white little zones. That's what these white boxes are called. We've got our Germans here and here. We've got all these hidden event markers throughout the map. Just as you guessed, you got to trigger them and you got to resolve them. So you've got a couple different ways of doing that. You can either spot from a distance by doing a die roll, or you can move adjacent to them and that will automatically trigger them. When they trigger, you then will check the number on a chart and it'll tell you, place some rubble there, it'll be there's nothing there, or maybe an enemy is there or an objective. And when you get an enemy, it's not going to be the same static enemy every time. It's not like, hey, two riflemen popped up, that's it. No, you're going to have to roll on an enemy presence check to then decide what is going to be there, and that will change each time. So the engagements change each time. You can't count on it always being one or two riflemen or a rifleman and a submachine gunner or whatever. It will change, and I think that's pretty neat because one of the things I found is you don't want to split your units up. Okay, you've got to clear the whole map, but don't split your forces. You don't ever really want to do that anyway, but in this instance, you really do need to have your base of fire and your movement element. You trigger these guys, you want to move in, you have to have your base of fire there to support them, so that way they can soften that target up or help them out when they get in trouble. And here's why you don't want to split them up, because say we move these guys over to here, all right? Go into this building, we move adjacent, we couldn't spot them from a distance, so we had to move in. This guy now gets spotted. And we get a couple of enemy units in there. Well, they move into close combat and they move into this little spot here in the building. Well, now they've moved adjacent to the one next to it. Now that triggers. Say it's another enemy. You get through one close combat, you've got to go into another close combat, you're going to trigger that other one. You can see that it could cascade out of control pretty quickly. So you don't want to do that unless you're forced to. Now, some instances you'll be forced to, but try to avoid that if possible. And the easiest way that you can avoid that is by simply not having to worry about turn limits. Another thing that I really like about this game. Here, you don't have to worry about turn limits, so you can move with more deliberate movement and cover. And I like that, and that's something that I would like to see in more tactical games where you're out there and you can move two elements together in more deliberate form and just eliminate the enemy as you go along. Now, moving from engagement to engagement through the zones, it's not like you're only going to trigger the guys in the zones. You can also trigger them by movement. Once you move, you can also, maybe there's a pop-up somewhere, not these guys, these hidden events. There may be somebody, another Soviet patrol out there that was just moving through that building, or someone laying in wait for you that your movement can trigger. You can also end up in a situation where you roll and you stop in the open, and that's a really bad spot to be in, so don't do that. Movement, you can see here on the back of this book, you have all your tables. You have your exposed movements, your modifiers, movement and LOS, enemy activation marker, and the sewer exit table. That's what I was talking about. As far as the opponent goes, your AI opponent, that is all controlled by a really simple, easy to use bot. By looking at this bot here, you can read and see, this is really easy to understand. It's not difficult at all. And it's pretty interesting to be able to play this game, knock it out in 45 minutes, an hour, maybe sometimes shorter, depending on how lucky you are, or longer, depending on how much time you want to take with it. And the activations are all handled through chip pull. You've got player and enemy counters, and you just throw them either in a cup, in your hand, shake them up, pull one out, and that will determine whether it's your turn, the player, or if it is the enemy's turn, you just follow the bot here for the enemy player, and then for yourself, obviously, make your own choices. The downsides to this game are really production quality, and it's something that I've seen that has happened with Flying Pig with this Yaah magazine in the past, and I would love to see them correct it, because these games are really fun and they're enjoyable. They're just marred by some substandard counters, and that's the problem with them, are the counters. For example, I'm going to pull these up here. I want to show you, let's see if this shows up on camera real good for you. And if you can see here, the rifle, the term rifle is cut off at the top, and you can see why, because you've got everything off-centered. And then here for the grenades, the 1 is, fine, but the 2 is mirrored, so it's kind of flipped backwards. It's not a game breaker. It is just annoying to see it, and it's one of those things where some QC could really correct this and make it a lot better. And I'd love to see them improve here, because these are fun games, and they just get marred by some, like I said, substandard production. Again, not game breaking, just a little disappointing. And one of the optional rules in there is to have leaders with chevrons for your platoon leader and your platoon, I think it's your squad leader. And the submachine gun guys are going to be your leaders. So when it comes to that, you won't have the chevrons, but you can just designate one with a cube or something like that. Again, production issue. Would be nice to see that get corrected to get a really full, complete feel on the game. So overall, my verdict on this game is definitely a lot of fun. You can pick this up either directly through Flying Pig Games with Yaah magazine, issue number 14. You can see on the cover there, it says Rattenkrieg. And then also, I think they do sell it through Wargame Vault, so you can do a print and play if you are the crafty type and you like to do print and plays. But like I said, I've enjoyed this game, and it is a simple solitaire tactical level game set in Stalingrad. That ticks off all the marks for me. This is going to be something I can take with me if I travel, and I can just throw it down on the table in the evening. I can play a game in 30, 45 minutes to an hour, maybe a little longer if I want to be deliberate in my movement like I was talking about, but definitely a lot of fun and pretty simple, straightforward. If you're looking for that type of game, this is one to definitely check out. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you'd be curious about this one. Do you have any comments or questions? Post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.